Hey, my name is Eric Latender, and in today's video, I want to talk to you about how to effectively communicate to your dog, how to get them to do the behaviors you want them to do, and how to get them to stop doing the behaviors you don't want them to do. Here's the thing, when you come to my dog training school, the first thing that I do with every single person that walks through the door is I meet with them one-on-one. No other dogs, no other people, no distractions. It's me, the owner, and their dog. And the reason that I do that is because I give everybody that comes to me for training a crash course on dog training. I give them an understanding of how dog training actually works. And what we've done is we've actually come up with a ladder. We call it Latender's Learning Ladder. And basically, these are the steps that we go over with each person that comes in. So again, they have a very good understanding and they know how to apply each step of the ladder so that they get maximum results training their dog. Because before you can actually train a dog, you have to understand how behavior works. And behavior is pretty simple to understand, but sometimes a little confusing at first if this isn't what you do every single day of your life. The ladder has all these different steps that we go through, and there's one step that you come to and it's all about communication. How to effectively communicate to your dog. And this is important because when you are training a dog, you have to understand that dogs do two behaviors. Behaviors that we like and want. You want them to sit, stay, down, come, walk on leash. Those are behaviors that you want your dog to do. Flip side to that is there's behaviors that you want your dog to stop doing. Right? You want your dog to stop jumping, to stop barking excessively, to stop stealing food off the counter, to stop chewing the coffee table. So there's behaviors we want the dog to do, there's behaviors we want the dog to stop doing. That's dog training, basically in a nutshell. So we use a combination of reinforcement and punishment. And so what I do is I teach everybody that comes to my school, I teach them 4 words. I teach them the word good, I teach them the word yes, I teach them the word wrong, I teach them the word no. I don't teach the owners that. I teach the owners how to teach their dog how to respond to those 4 words, how to learn those 4 words. And so what you have to do, and what you have to understand, is that you are not going to change your dog's behavior without consequences. There needs to be some type of consequence in order to change the dog's behavior. Same with us. We use positive consequences as reinforcement to increase behavior, and we use negative consequences as punishment to stop behaviors. So good and yes are associated with positive consequences, reinforcement. Wrong and no are paired with, associated with negative consequences to stop behaviors. This is exciting? It's all making sense now, right? So we pair the word with the consequence, and over time, the dog actually understands and learns the meaning of the word. I don't start off by teaching the dog to sit or to lie down. I start off by teaching the dog the words good, yes, wrong, and no, teaching the owner how to teach them to the dog. And once the dog starts to learn these words, and once the owner knows how to apply these words, then we can start the training. Start teaching the dog how to do the commands we want them to do. So again, we have to pair the word with a consequence so that the dog starts to understand. Reinforcement to increase behavior, punishment to stop behaviors. And think about your own behavior, right? You go to work, even if you love your job, you still go to work because you get some type of reinforcement. You get a paycheck. If the paycheck stops, I can guarantee you're gonna stop going to work. On the flip side, imagine that you're driving down the street and all of a sudden a police officer pulls up right behind you. He's right on your butt. What happens in that situation? I know what happens. You become a better driver. You make sure you put the cell phone down, make sure your hands are 10 to 2, you use your blinkers, right? You pay attention to your speed because you want to avoid getting punished. So reinforcement, punishment. That's what you have to understand. So the first 2 words that I teach are the words good and yes. I teach the words good and yes because these are the words that I use to teach the dog to do a behavior. Sit, lie down, come, whatever it might be. I use the words wrong and no to stop the dog from doing certain behaviors. Now, the reason that I teach good and yes is because when you teach your dog to do a command, there's actually 3 parts to it that the dog has to learn. A lot of times this isn't broken down. This is why the dog doesn't perform the way you want them to. But there's 3 parts to a command. First is the position. What position do you want the dog to be in? Sit, down, stand, or do you want them to go to place? That's the position. So you need them to get into position. The second part of the command is the dog needs to maintain the behavior. So when you give the dog the command sit or down, you should be able to walk away from the dog and the dog doesn't move. They have to maintain the behavior. They have to do duration. And then the final step to a command is there's a release. The dog now has permission to move. What happens in a lot of dog training classes is that the dog just learns the position. They say sit, the dog sits, and then they go good, and then the dog just pops up and walks away. And what you want, again, is you want your dog to do the command for as long as you say so. So that you have to focus on all three parts of the command: the position, the duration, the release. So I say sit. The first thing I'll tell the dog is good. Good communicates you need to maintain the behavior. That's the duration word, okay? And I do that by delivering the reward. Good. Good. Then we have the word yes. That's the release. And these words can be whatever words you want to use. They don't have to be my words. I use good is for duration. I use yes for release. Some people like to use the word break. Some people like to use the word free. It doesn't matter. You just want to be consistent with your words. The first part is getting the dog into position. The second part is rewarding the dog for maintaining the position. Good. Good, deliver the reward. And then the final, when I say yes, I have the dog come get the reward because I'm releasing the dog from the command, so I want them to get out of whatever position they were in. So good and yes are the first two words that I teach every dog that comes through my school. I want them to understand duration, maintain the behavior. I want them to understand release. Now you are done. I don't use the command stay because I want the stay to be built into the command. Dog holds the command till I release. So those are the first two words that I teach. The next two words that I teach are the words wrong and no. The word wrong is used when the dog doesn't perform the way I want them to. So you need to communicate to your dog when they make a mistake, because it's gonna happen. Your dog's gonna make a mistake. The first place that a lot of dogs make mistakes is when we give them a command. How many of you guys repeat the command? So a lot of times you're working, you say, okay, Sparky, sit, hey, sit, sit down, sit, right? You start repeating the command. You want to get in the habit of saying the command one time. Say it once. The problem is, what if you give the command and the dog doesn't do it? Now what? That's why we start repeating. So instead of repeating the command, I give the dog the word wrong. So I say sit, wrong, and then I turn away from the dog. I withhold whatever reinforcement they were gonna get. I withhold it. So I say wrong, I turn away, and then I step back, and then I'll give the command again. Sit. If they do it, good. If they don't, wrong. Now, obviously, the dog needs to be interested in whatever it is that you're offering. So it could be a ball, it could be a tug toy, it could be a food reward, but the word wrong is used, especially in the early stages of the learning process, to let the dog know, oops, you made a mistake. Because what I don't do is when I'm teaching the dog to do a behavior, I don't use any kind of heavy correction, nothing like that. I don't use a ton of pressure. What I want the dog to do is I want the dog to be willing, and they want to do this work. They want to do the training. I do withhold something that they want if they don't perform the way I'm asking them to, and that's where the word wrong comes in. Then the final word that I teach every dog owner is the word no. The dog has to learn the word no. Let me back up a second. So the word good is paired with a food reward. I give it to the dog. I bring it to the dog. The word yes is paired with a food reward, but now they come get the reward because they're released from the command. I pair the word wrong with withholding the reward, okay, to let the dog know they made a mistake. So we have good, yes, wrong. It's all using food rewards, okay? I'm either giving it to the dog or withholding it. When it comes to the word no, there's no food around. Now what we have to do is we have to apply a negative consequence. The second the dog does the behavior that you want to stop, you pair the word with the consequence to show the dog, if you do that behavior, I will apply an unpleasant consequence so that you stop doing that behavior. You should watch my other video on why is dog training so confusing if you really want a good understanding of what I'm talking about here, because when you're training a dog, you need to use reinforcement and punishment. You only use punishment to stop behaviors, and you use reinforcement to increase behaviors. It's as simple as that. And like I said, I break it down a little bit more, and we talk about the 4 behavior quadrants and how I teach them to every single dog owner that comes in to me for training. Now, I don't sit down and teach them positive punishment, negative punishment, positive reinforcement. I don't teach that. What I teach them is good, yes, wrong, no. And what I'm teaching here is all of the behavior quadrants. The owner doesn't really know that they're learning the behavior quadrants, but that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm giving them a really good understanding of what to do in the situations that they need to understand. So like what to do if I want the dog to learn sit. What to do if I want to stop the dog from stealing food off my counter. If I want the dog to learn sit, I'm going to use reinforcement. If I want the dog to stop stealing food off the counter, I'm going to use punishment. And once you understand this, reinforcement and punishment, how to apply it, when to apply it, you're way ahead of the game, because now you understand dog training, you understand behavior. This is where we teach the word no. And what you have to do with the word no is you have to pair it with an unpleasant consequence. And everybody asks me, well, what's the unpleasant consequence? Well, it could be whatever the dog doesn't like. There are dogs that I've worked with that you say no, And just by using your voice and your body language, the dog goes, whoa, I'm sorry. Those dogs are rare, but it does happen. There's other dogs that I've seen, the owner said, well, I just squirted him with water and he stopped jumping on me. Okay, that's great. There's pet correctors, sometimes work very effective. You'll see some people use bonkers. Invisible fence, basically the dog's learning the word no. The dog walks up to a certain point, the collar beeps, and then they get a correction. So it's beep, correction, beep, correction. Pretty soon when they hear the beep, guess what they do? They stay away, they go back into the safe zone. They walk away or move away from where they know they're gonna get the correction. So the beep becomes almost like telling the dog, no, don't go any further. And this is why you have to say the word no and then apply the correction, apply the negative consequence. So if you use something like a pet corrector, it'd be no, and then the spray. And it has to be in that order. Your dog needs to hear the word no, and then the consequence. And actually, that's with all of the words. You want the dog to hear the word good, and then get the reward. Good, reward. You don't want to do it at the same time. There needs to be a separation there. Good, treat. No, consequence. Not at the same time, because think about this. If I had a stick, or let's say you have the stick, and you whack me at the very same second you say duck, does that give me an opportunity to duck? So you hit me, duck, doesn't give me an opportunity. But what if you said duck, and then whacked me? That gives me an opportunity. So if you want the dog to learn the words, you don't want to overlay. You don't want to overlay. You don't want to say the word at the same moment you're giving the treat. You try to give that little bit of a pause, so it's good, reward. It can be fast, it doesn't have to be a big pause. Good, reward. Yes, reward. No, consequence. And definitely never apply the consequence and then say the word. So you don't want to give the dog a treat and say good, because they'll never learn. Again, let's go back to the stick, right? So you have a stick, my back is to you, right? So I can't see you, and you're behind me with the stick. You whack me with the stick, and then you say duck. I'm never gonna learn the word. Your dog needs to hear the word before the consequence, whether it's a positive or a negative consequence. Very important. They're called markers, is what they generally call them. So it's just like if you were using a clicker. It'd be click, then the treat, not the treat, and then the click, because then the dog's never gonna associate it. So you have to give the word, the marker, and then the consequence. Good, deliver. Yes, come get it. Wrong, withhold. No, consequence, negative consequence. And now, if you think about it, the dog owner, you have a way of communicating to your dog by using reinforcement and punishment. And this is why it's so important to understand the behavior quadrants, because what you're using is positive reinforcement, you're using negative punishment, you're using positive punishment to get the results that you're looking for and to keep your dog safe, because that's what punishment does. Punishment properly applied keeps your dog safe. And so that's why you need to know how to use it. So the only thing that's not in there is negative reinforcement, but we introduce that when we start to put collars on the dog. We introduce a little bit of negative reinforcement. And negative reinforcement, again, is to get the dog to do a behavior. And this, again, is why you need to understand reinforcement and punishment. You don't have a good grasp of that, or if you disagree with it, this is the part that's gonna make you crazy, because if you're just someone looking for answers, you're gonna find a whole bunch of information with people disagreeing with what I'm telling you in this video, because they're gonna say, never use punishment, never use negative reinforcement. It's crazy. You have to know how to apply reinforcement and punishment if you want good results with your dog. Otherwise, you're gonna be managing your dog like crazy. When you come across an all positive trainer, what they're gonna tell you is that if your dog likes to jump on the counter, then you need to put the dog in the crate, you need to keep an eye on the dog, instead of just ending it by properly applying punishment. So this is why I say, I teach everybody that comes into my school, I teach them the behavior quadrants without them knowing, because I don't sit down and say we're gonna learn about negative and positive reinforcement and punishment. I sit down and say we're gonna learn good, yes, wrong, and no, which is associated with reinforcement and punishment. And so that's what we teach. If you teach your dog these 4 words, it's gonna make training way, way, way easier, because you're gonna be able to effectively communicate to your dog. And you understand what you're doing. You understand, oh, this situation I need to apply reinforcement. Oh, this is a situation where I need to apply punishment. I hope that cleared up some things as far as communication goes, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you click the subscribe button. Don't forget to hit that little bell, because I know you don't want to miss any of these videos, because it's like positive reinforcement in your YouTube channel when they show up. So make sure you click the bell. We'll keep the videos coming. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great day.